My wife is staying in a nearby hotel and won't answer calls or texts. My wife and I have been married for 8 years this October and had been dating for almost 3 before that. We have had some really amazing memories together. We've been able to travel some, have 2 beautiful children, and have generally been pretty problem-free throughout our marriage, other than the occasional fight over something silly. One thing I do have to explain is that in the months before we were to be married, I found that she had been sending emails and talking to an old boyfriend of hers. When I found out, she deleted all of the evidence and swore on her life that it was nothing bad, that she was just tying up loose ends and nothing more. Of course, not knowing the context was more difficult for me than anything, but I decided to forgive her, perhaps foolishly, and proceed with the marriage, and we've been together with no infidelity ever since. I can't say I have regrets because I have 2 perfect children and a relatively happy life. However, during COVID and being cooped up together so much, we started getting short with each other, and I could tell she wasn't very happy. After our kids were born, 7 years ago, she was frequently sleeping in the same room with them because she nursed and said it was easier. She did have postpartum depression, and we never really made a good transition out of her being in another room. I more often than not was asleep in our bed by myself, although we were frequently intimate. I always had to wonder how she was spending her time on her phone, so I asked her if there were any conversations that I should know about. She swore up and down there was nothing, but I found where some copies of Twitter DMs had been sent to her old email address as notifications. It seemed to be nothing racy, but it was a guy referring to an old conversation with her and asking if they could keep in touch through Twitter after she deactivated her Facebook. I was pretty livid because she had gone out of her way to delete all of the evidence, once again, leaving me assuming the worst. I asked to see her phone, for the first time in years, and she appeared to be ready to physically fight me to stop me from seeing. This is where I messed up. I was so upset and angry, I grabbed the phone and threw it on the ground and told her to leave. I was furious and knew that if we didn't separate ourselves, it would be worse. She did leave and has been staying in a hotel for over a week now. She won't return my calls or barely responds to texts, and I have the kids here with me raising them alone. She says that I was invading her privacy and that I am controlling, but this was honestly the first time that I'd asked to see anything of that sort in years. Now she acts like saving our marriage is a lost cause, and I've apologized over and over for breaking her phone and losing my temper. I know it all looks bad, but I truly don't think she has been fully cheating, as we've been very careful during COVID, and we live very far from the person she was talking to. On the other hand, it seems like there's been no interest in fixing any of this, and she won't tell me if she is moving out or what she wants to actually do. She doesn't seem interested in getting help, and I truly don't know what to do. She says she wants space, but we have had a lot of space between us over the years. In Reddit's professional opinion, does this sound like a lost cause? Update. My wife finally had a conversation with me this past Friday and admitted that she had applied for a job 4 hours away in June of this year, and that they called and offered it to her this week, and she accepted. The job is a temporary contract-type position in a creative field where she has no experience. They didn't do a sit-down interview or ask for a portfolio. Reviews of the company are spotty at best, and it seems that they're hiring someone green to run through the grinder and pay less than the market average. The location is also in the busiest and fastest-growing area in our state, and the rent for the house she's planning to lease is double that of our old mortgage. She claims a mom group of friends in the area helped her find it. She has hardly accepted any responsibility for the secrets and lies. And as others had suggested, it appears she used our altercation as the perfect opportunity to leave. I have plenty of blame in all of this too, but making moves behind my back and hiding things for months is truly typical behavior for her in this situation. She came by to see our kids for an hour before leaving. She actually spent a few minutes with them. While I was putting them in the bath, she was getting decorations for her new place out of our storage shed. She insists on everything holy that there is no one there she is going to, but that we've been fighting for a while, referencing every hiccup we've had in 12 years. There were never any attempts from her to improve the marriage or communicate about these supposedly unfixable problems. I'm going to a lawyer next week, and I've cut off contact with her in the meantime. I, 34 male, caught my girlfriend, 39 female, in the act with another man. She 100,000% insists that it wasn't what it looked like. A few nights ago, I went to her house because we had plans to spend the evening discussing some recent issues we'd been having. It was nothing too serious for me, and she had not indicated that there was anything seriously wrong once, so I pretty much expected to have a heart-to-heart and then spend the night loving her. For a few hours prior, I texted her something along the lines of, "Hey, what's the plan for this evening?" This was followed by another 2 over the course of the hour. She naps and sleeps pretty deeply sometimes, so I just went to her house, per the informal plan. Upon arrival, I put my key in the door, and it appears that the lock had been changed, rendering the key obsolete. I knock several times, then ring the bell a few times. Nothing happens. Then I call and get 2 rings, then voicemail, suggesting it was rejected. I called again, and this time it was rejected a bit faster. I checked the Find My Phone app, since we shared locations with each other, and the phone was showing as inside the house. New lock, lights off, no answer. I got creeped out and worried about her and her children. I walked around back and tried one of the ground level's windows, which let me into the dining room, then proceeded to her room upstairs. I reach out to touch her figure under the blanket, and she is actually he, saying, "WTF, man?" It was either go nuclear or GTFO. And trying to avoid prison, I opted for GTFOing to my sister's house just a few houses down the street. Fortunately, the family was there, and I had good emotional support. I received no contact from her, other than the picture of the open window, which came after 2 freaking hours, and only in response to me finally texting her to ask, "Do you really not have anything to say?" At this point, I lost it and delivered a very definitive blow to her psychologically, agreeing with something her ex said a few years about that she was very self-conscious about. As a side question, I hope I can get thoughts on how inappropriate it is to yell hurtful things at someone you just caught in bed with another man that has not bothered to apologize or explain themselves. I am apparently a disgusting human being that is at least as outrageous as me finding her with him. The next day, I didn't get to speak with her until late afternoon when she finally responded to my messages and unblocked my number. It was blocked because I was so hurtful with my mean words. Here's her answer to my, "What in the holy duck?" He is a friend of the family since childhood. He recently came out as not straight and had just moved to our city and messaged her to reconnect, platonically. So, you see, it simply wasn't cheating. Even if it was, him shirtless, me unable to verify anything else before red spirals started to swirl, I never would have considered that cheating, and I wouldn't have expected you to be upset by it. And then, too, we snuggled and I just felt like you lost interest in me, so I wanted to feel that human connection. And finally, if you had been there, I wouldn't have wanted that affection. She denied he had his shirt off until I showed her a picture in her phone of him shirtless, though completely under the covers, save for his shoulders. So maybe, just maybe, she could have not known and that he took his shirt off while she slept. That's what she claims. This lack of affection, BTW, has me sleeping in her bed 3 or 4 nights per week, falling asleep on her chest with our arms wrapped around each other, for like at least an hour or 2 every night. We have Zex 2x a week on average, which hardly seems like a dead bedroom to me, and when we bang, she says it's amazing every time. Her life is a mess. She's getting evicted, doesn't have a job, and so on. I have never judged her for this. She made some mistakes elsewhere and asked me when we got together to believe her that this is a low point in her life, for understandable reasons and mostly reasonable reasons. As we've written out the chaos of her circumstances, she has worn me out in a lot of ways. I love her for many reasons, and was totally willing to stand by her side when she's not performing how she wants to and is capable and get her back up and running. She'd tell you I'm the most positive force in her life and give her confidence. I love this woman and her kids and don't want things to be over, and I think it's allowing her to gaslight me into believing things I should know better than to believe. Is it even remotely possible she wasn't ducking this dude? If she spent more 4 or 5 of her words on how badly I hurt her, and maybe 1/5 of her so apologizing to me, is it possible she doesn't even love me at all? Do phones ring in such a way that what I heard as call rejection could have been something else? Do believe her? Or do I run as fast as possible or something in between? Update. I investigated further and found out she sent 270+ text messages to her ex-fiancé, 220 to her other ex-fiancé's brother that same month. She promised she'd never talk to the dude I found her with, but she called him in April, 2 months after I'd forgiven her and 1 hour after my 9-year son, who adores her, and I surprised her by taking her out to lunch. She also texted the aforementioned ex-fiancé a few minutes after she texted the dude I found her with. I'm 98% sure that she spoke with said loser, 41 yo and no car in STL, the following month as well. She gaslit me for months, acting as though my responding to a long time no see, how's it going, text from an ex-FWB, 2 weeks after the text was sent to me with a, life's all right, how are you? Every time I brought up her cheating, which took her a month to finally accept, met the criteria for infidelity, she brought up my single text to a friend of nearly a decade. I got her phone and did a substantial amount of research on iOS forensics. I looked through the various database files within the iPhone, as well as pulled data from her Snapchat account, Google location, etc., and found even more. The day or two before I caught her, she had first signed up for Tinder, just to see what it was, and second, friended a few old guy friends. She begged me to forgive her and told me she's just been conditioned to behave that way since everyone she's been with has done that to her. Never mind her telling me before that she has been mistreated and thus knows how bad it hurts and not to do it. The dude she was with when I met her, that I was told was a roommate, left her immediately when he found out about me, and this put her into financial peril. Believing her whole spiel, I was convinced she was truly just a good person in a bad spot, something I can empathize with. I let her live with me post-eviction. I let her drive my second car rather than sell it as I wanted to. I love her kids and didn't want them to suffer, so I just dealt with it, partially out of love for the kids, partially out of love for her, partially out of some serious Stockholm syndrome, and a bit out of a misplaced sense of guilt. She moved in and trampled on my privacy, peace of mind, neighborly relations, etc. I received numerous hostile calls from the other residents of my apartment building. My landlord of 10 years called me 3 times to threaten to evict me. I pleaded with her to be quiet, and she oscillated between faux obliviousness to total indifference. I later found her texting a friend mocking my pleading for her to just be quiet at night. She got her own place a few weeks ago, and wouldn't you know it, she's really concerned about the noise level, since she too has gotten calls from neighbors and the landlord. If you're still reading, here's a bit about me. I suffer from depression, am diagnosed with bipolar disorder, though with my medication my symptoms are virtually undetectable from the outside, and have a severe abandonment complex. My mother ditched me into an orphanage at age 13. My father beat the shit out of me and put me into a psych ward as a punishment. Not at all because he thought I belonged there. He'll literally admit it to anyone that asks. My wife of 6 months left me because after 6 years a child and several years prior to our relationship being friends, she changed her mind. I'm damaged goods, you might say. I don't know how to escape this sense of wanting, if not needing her. When we're good, it feels like ecstasy. She's so sweet, affectionate, concerned for my well-being. The sex is phenomenal. Her love for me and my son feels so real. Our kids are really good friends. It feels like a real family. I suppose it's the family I wish I had with my ex-wife or maybe as a kid. Pathetic, eh? For whatever reason, I'm still with her. She begs for forgiveness, then literally repeats the precise same actions every single time. I ask her to do something like, please, for the love of God, and the 800th time since you've known me, do not duck with my desk. Literally every other week I have to explain for an hour or so that she has done it again, added or removed it from my desk. At the end of the soul-crushing convo, she acts like she totally gets it, the very simple instruction, do not touch my desk or anything on it. It inevitably happens again the next week. I tell her I need sleep, having slept no more than an hour the night prior, in between working my 2 jobs, and she leaves the room so I can nap, only to be back in 15 minutes, waking me up, to tell me something that doesn't have a single aspect of time sensitivity to it. I could go on, but it'd just be more of the same stupid shit. I'm pathetic for staying with her. I literally don't understand my own behavior. Oh yeah, I found out yesterday she stole a $2,000 check from me and cashed it. Upon calling her out on it, she has ghosted me.